I remember there was one day I was watching the cameras because Erin with Sagamore, she texted me and she was like, we left you something funny on the cameras. And it was like her and her daughters dancing in the kitchen upstairs. So it's moments like those where I'm like, man, like, I really love that people actually use this space outside of coming here for work. It doesn't give like a corporate office feel. It very much gives, it's very cozy. Like, I love coming into work because the space is so comforting.
They've got you boxed in. Old habit, you draw the curtain. Lonely only if they ever leave. Do you feel
Okay, we're gonna try something new. Like I said, hello, my name is Michael Zarick. This is what is the name of my podcast? It's Third Space Indy.
And that's cute.
Yeah.
I really love that. Third Space Indy.
Yeah, and in Third Space Indy, the purpose is to talk to people like you who are community builders, community organizers, and people who are overall sort of invested in the space that they are living in. And that brings me to today's guest, Jenna Hadley. The reason Jenna and I know each other is because when I was laid off in January, I was actually like thinking about starting a business, and I was like, oh, it might be like a co-working space. So I looked up co-working spaces, and Jenna is the community manager for COhatch Broad Ripple right next to where I live. So I walked over, we had a short tour, and just talked to her about my life. And then I helped her take out the trash to the dumpster, which was a very dirty dumpster. And then she took me in like a sad puppy, and here we are. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember your tour like it was yesterday. I remember that's like so like sentimental and like, well, I remember you were like, yeah, I actually don't have a job, and I was like, oh, okay.
Why are you here?
Yeah, like what's going on? And I remember sitting in the golf simulator room with you, and you were like, yeah, like I don't know, I'm just trying to like figure out the Broad Ripple community and like what it has to offer, and I don't know, it was refreshing talking to someone who cares a lot.
I'm glad I gave off that vibe in the instant that you met me.
You did. I was like, he's got like good intentions and like wants to build something cool.
I do attempt to have good intentions. So the reason you're here is because, like I said, you're the community manager of Broad Ripple, which is sort of the premier role that you would be if I was going to talk to someone building a community, because that's what you do. Why don't you tell me a little bit about you and your job and your life?
Okay, this is a big... Where do I start? Okay, so I grew up in Pendleton, Indiana, small town, very community-oriented. So I guess, like, my roots kind of have built up who I am in that sense. So I grew up in Pendleton, and then I moved to Indianapolis in 2018 for college. So I went to Butler. I was at Butler for 4 years, was a strategic communication major, journalism minor, did a lot of internships in college. I was a little overachiever, but that's what I wanted to do, so I did. And I've worked in like the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry, moved to St. Louis for a little bit, worked at a rooftop bar as a
You have lived in a lot of places.
I've been in really random places and in just random living situations. But it's been...
Are you a victim of circumstance, or did you seek these out? I forget. I feel like it's a victim of circumstance.
It's kind of a middle ground. I feel like I've tried to kind of scoop my way by in some scenarios, like lived with my friend's parents, went to Germany and lived with my aunt, lived with my friend and her mom because they had an extra room in their attic. And it's like I kind of like was seeking them out, but also they just kind of happened. And I was like, I kind of need a place to live, so... But it's helped me develop my mindset to be like, okay, that was scary. Your hat just fell.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
Fall down, that'd be bad.
To be like, okay, this is not the ideal living situation, and I'm learning X, Y, and Z from this, so therefore my next steps need to be this. So it's been uber helpful in putting myself in weird situations to learn and therefore continuously make the correct move, you know? So
how did you end up here, where we are right now?
Yeah, well, let's backtrack. You invited me here. I met you like, what, mid-March? Was it mid-March?
No. We met in February. I
Oh my
promise.
gosh, has it been that long?
Mhm.
Oh, this year has been really long.
I feel like it's been fast.
I mean,
Unfortunately, fast.
It's been just like I've had a lot of things happen, too many things. But yeah, it's gone by really quickly because I feel like New Year's was yesterday. But anyways, ended up at COhatch on August 26th was my first day working here, and I've loved it. It's been great. I knew about COhatch kind of because since I went to Butler, I would drive on Westfield like all the time to go to Broad Ripple, and finally one day, my family friend, she was like, "You should apply for this job at COhatch," and I was like, "Okay, interesting." And then once I like came inside here, I was like, "Wow, I've driven past this like a million times, but I've never like come inside." Anyways, family friend, she was a member here and encouraged me to apply, even though I was working for her at the time. She was like, "I think you would be great at this job."
She's like, I don't want you here anymore. I want
No,
you to
she
go."
needed me. She needed me pretty badly, honestly, because I was babysitting her daughter, and she wanted me to be happy. She wanted me to have a role where I was full salary, benefits, things like that. So she referred me to this, and she was like, "I really think you would be great at this." And I applied, and I went through the interview process, had like 4 interviews, and got the job, and I've loved it. It's been awesome. COhatch is like a really great organization to work for. Look at that product placement.
Yeah, hashtag ad.
Hashtag advertising.
I wish they'd sponsor me.
COhatch, sponsor this, please. But yeah, my role entails a lot of things. Like Michael sits at the table next to my desk and just watches me like run around like a frantic little maniac.
That's true.
But it's the perfect job for me.
So what about, I'm assuming the people are the main driver. I've never actually talked to you about this, so I'm interested.
Yeah.
Like what about your job here is like, I mean, you're not excited about making the coffee in the morning, I don't think. Like what is
It's not
actually the most
particularly my
enjoyable
favorite.
part?
It's fine, but it's not my favorite. Yeah, it's gonna have to be the people for sure. Like you see me interact with people here on the daily.
I get to interact with them too.
Yeah, and you get to too, and it's super fun. And I actually was walking around earlier giving some people a tour or like showing them a couple offices, and one of the guys was like, "Man, you just know everyone here." And I was like, "Well, yeah, it's my job."
Yeah.
I was like, "That's my job," but also like I don't do it because it's my job. I do it because I'm passionate about it, and I'm passionate about meeting people. So yeah, I mean, like when I first started, obviously like getting to know everyone is really not the easiest thing because there's so many people to meet and there's so many lives to know. Like just learning about people and their families and where they're from. I love doing that. I'm so curious. I just want to like pry a little too much and be like, "Tell me your life story." I mean, it was tough at first, but as time has gone on, someone will come in, I haven't seen them in a couple weeks, and my brain remembers like, "Oh, like their son or daughter had XYZ or had a soccer tournament or something." And, you know, I'll remember to ask about that. Or someone's like grandma's in the hospital. Like I appreciate that I can keep up with them on those things and just like learn more about their lives and keep in touch with them. Even though I don't want to say I am just the community manager, but it's like, to me, it's so much more than that. It's just being that role and being that person that people like, if they need someone to lean on, like I'm here for them too. So it's kind of an emotional side of things, I think, when it comes to this job.
The idea of a third space is to be the literal third space outside of your house and your work.
Yeah.
But COhatch kind of dances this line where it tries to do both. Do you feel like it successfully does that? Because the majority of people here are pretty, they're doing business.
Yeah.
At least they pretend to be.
They're mostly doing business.
So you obviously organize events and you do things like that. Or do you think people are appreciative of that and that what's your participation like? What's the vibe that you're getting from people?
Yeah. So I feel like when people come in for a tour, I'll gauge their needs based on our conversation. And depending on what they're looking for, I will try to really emphasize that community aspect, third space aspect of COhatch. If someone comes in and you can just tell, like, I just need a co-working space 2 days a week just to get some work done, I'm not going to push that on them. So it really just depends on the person. I will say with the current member population of COhatch Broad Ripple, like, there's a good amount of people that will either bring their kids in or, like, come in on the weekend just to, like, have that third space to get away from home. And I love seeing that. Like, I remember there was one day I was watching the cameras because Erin with Sagamore, she texted me and she was like, we love to do something funny on the cameras. And it was like her and her daughters dancing in the kitchen upstairs. So it's moments like those where I'm like, man, like, I really love that people actually use this space outside of coming here for work. It doesn't give like a corporate office feel. It very much gives, it's very cozy. Like, I love coming into work because the space is so comforting and it's just nice. Like, the stained glass is awesome. It's just like, the design is wonderful. I try to make it like a very inviting space for people with my attitude. Sometimes I'm a little sassy, but that's just me. That's just what you get. So, and I think you've learned that well enough.
Yeah. I find that having a space, you know, I'm unemployed, but I still come here to work. But I find that being around other people, one, there's a bit of shame, whereas like if I'm like goofing off, I feel shame. So it helps me be productive. But also like the idea of just being around other people and talking with John yesterday. Like, I asked John, hey, what are you struggling with most at work? That was a genuine question. I was maybe kind of fishing a little bit, but also I was genuinely interested because John walks by every day and he always seems like he's got something on his mind, actually.
He seems very busy in the head.
Yes. So being able to reach out to someone and just say, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And having a space for that. And it's also, we're lucky that Broad Ripple or COhatch Broad Ripple is within the greater area of Broad Ripple because I think it sort of drives a certain type of person to come here. There's a COhatch in Carmel, and Carmel has a certain vibe. I have never been to Carmel, but what people say about it, there's a certain...
Yeah.
It's a totally different sort of pseudo culture.
Yes. It's a totally different vibe at each location. We actually just had this conversation like last week at a team building thing. Like, every person in their role at each location in Indianapolis is in their role at their location for a reason. Because each location, each members, like each group of members, like they all have their own set of needs and like vibe and like overall general vibe. If I had to go work at a different location, it would just be different. Like, it would just be a lot different. And because of the community I built up in Broad Ripple, I don't know, it would just feel a bit off for me. Not saying like that's wrong, but like we all are definitely like where we're supposed to be, which I appreciate.
Yeah. What's the like next big thing for you? Like, what do you want to do? Do you feel like there's a jumping off point?
Oh God, that's a big question. Are we talking life?
Whatever you want it to be.
Career? Oh my gosh. Panic attack moment. No, I'm just kidding.
You probably haven't had a lot of time to think about that type of stuff.
I really don't. This job keeps me very occupied. I will say, like, there's room for growth within COhatch, which I really appreciate. I also will say, like, I've been in this job for almost 9 months now, and it has flown by to where I'm like, oh, like, I'm just now getting really good at this job. Why would I switch quite yet? You know, like, why?
You have known me for almost half your tenure here.
I really have, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Not because of you, just because of the time aspect of it all.
And when you frame it that way, it is kind of crazy.
It is. It's like, how has it been that long? And I'll explore those options within COhatch. I'll stay in this role for a while. I really will, because I do love it. I do really like the company. Like, I love my team. Like, they're all amazing people. Good friends with a couple of them, which is great.
You trying to get them to let you watch their kids?
No, literally, McKenna wants me to like watch her dog sometime. I'm like, you live all the way in Pendleton. Like, I live here. He's a good boy. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. In terms of like personal life, like, I don't know. I feel like I love Indianapolis, and I know that's a big part of like your podcast. Like,
We'll get to that.
yes, and we'll talk more about that. And I've loved like building up my personal community in Indy. I feel like there is more for me though. I feel like I've been going through a lot personally, and I haven't really had like the time to explore the things that I want to explore. And I actually just made a goal list for May, and making sure to see like 5 different friends this month was a goal. I was like, I need to make time to see my people so I can continue building those relationships.
That's a difficult goal because that's more than one a week.
A week, I know, that's kind of a lot. I might have to squeeze in a couple on one weekend. But it's like, I've been putting those things off and also putting off like spending time like doing things that I love in Indianapolis because I've been so busy. So I think that's another thing that I'm looking forward to, just doing more things that I enjoy.
I'm also putting off doing things in Indianapolis, but that's for a different reason.
Because I'm actually really busy.
It's because my bank account is draining. I guess to jump into Indianapolis, you mentioned it as the place you love. When did you move back?
Yeah.
When?
So I moved back in November of 2023. So it's been a while. But it was really interesting. I actually just had this conversation with someone today. So after college, I moved to St. Louis, okay? My best friend invited me to come live with her. I said, sure, why not? So I moved to St. Louis, take all of my belongings, and then February of 2023, I book a flight to go live with my aunt in Germany for 3 months. So at the end of my time in St. Louis, I felt like my only option was, well, I have to move it back home to Indianapolis. Like, my dad has a place I can store my things. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to leave it all in St. Louis if I don't know if I'm going to come back. Like, Indy is home. So I brought it all back here, and then I get home from Germany in November, December, and I stay with my mom and my grandma. And last year was mental crisis, like, constantly.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible. It was so bad. It was like, one moment I was like, I'm going to move to Chicago. I want to live up there. Another moment, oh, I'm going to go live with my friend out in Denver. Oh, I'm going to go do this. And like, I never really had like the drive to do that. Like, I looked at jobs in Michigan and I looked at jobs in Chicago and like looked at apartments, but I never was like, yeah, I really want to do that. I just felt like, I don't know, I was building up like my community in Indy a little bit, even though I was having a mental crisis. And then I found this job, and then I was like, well, I guess I'll stay. And then I bet Ethan, too. Like, Ethan and I started dating, and I was like, okay, I'm here.
That's the worst.
I know. Ugh, whatever.
It's always a girl.
No, I mean, I'm very glad I stayed. Because I will say, like, when I was in college, since I grew up in Indiana, and I went to college in Indy, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to leave. I can't wait to get out. And I did that, and I went and moved, and I had a great time. And then I ended up back here, and I was like, oh, this actually isn't bad at all. And I actually love it here.
I wonder if there's a magnetism to somewhere that's like your hometown, because I think about this a lot for like people who live in I don't have the perspective of having grown up somewhere else. It's impossible for me to have had that.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky. And then we moved to Arkansas in 2021 and then came back late last year. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I just have really positive sentiment associated with Indianapolis. But I think it might be this sort of pseudo magnetism, I'm going to call it, related to just living near where I grew up. Like, we really liked living in Arkansas. And I think that's because we did a lot of work to like make friends and like do stuff. But it's really easy to just exist in a space you have always existed in. I wonder if, I don't know, did you have a good experience in other places?
I mean, I will say, like, living in St. Louis, that was probably the best year of my life. It really was. Like, I think it topped college. And it was a really hard year. Like, it was not easy. Like, I lost some friends. I don't want to say I sabotaged some relationships, but I kind of did. But it was such a good learning experience, and I love that city, and I love my friends there. I still talk to them quite often. And, I mean, it wasn't terribly far from home. Like, I came home
4 hours.
A lot when I lived in St. Louis. I really did. I came home, like, probably on average, like, once a month.
That is a lot.
It was a lot. I had things back here, and I think, like, when I was living in St. Louis, even though I enjoyed it so much, there was something, like, very comforting about being back at home and just being close to my family. And I was dating someone who was still going to Butler, so it was tough, like, being away at times.
So you moved back and you claim to love it here.
I do.
So what about Indianapolis draws you in and makes you, what's the romantic side? 'Cause I think for the outsiders, if there are those that listen,
What is it about Indy?
It's Indiana
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And from Louisville, Kentucky, like we used to hate on Indiana hard, although I like it now.
It's kind of great, though. It is.
So you're a cyclist,
Yes.
you're a community manager,
Yes,
you have a boyfriend,
I do.
what else do you do? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't even know either.
Those three things.
I mean, I will say, like, Ethan and I love to go out and try new places, like, for food. So that's a big thing. I will say, Indy's food scene could be a little better. That's one thing that is slightly lacking for me because I think I've kind of been spoiled. Like, the culture in St. Louis is just a lot different than Indy, which is fine. It's just different. Like, I think there's a lot of French culture there, hence, like, Mardi Gras and stuff. Like, St. Louis has the second biggest Mardi Gras next to New Orleans.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's...
Also, they have a huge Italian population.
Oh my gosh, the Hill, Italian food there. Like, I've been spoiled. Living in Germany, spoiled. Like, I've gotten to do a lot of traveling. So coming back to somewhere and I'm like, oh man, like, I miss that Indian food I had in Dublin. Like, that was the best. But also, I need to lower my standards a little and be like, okay, like, for what Indy is doing, like, they're doing a good job. Like, Gather 22 is a great spot. I don't know if you've been there. I need to make you a list of restaurants.
I have a very large list of restaurants.
Yeah, I'll need to
I just don't
add
have
to
any
it.
money.
Yeah, that's fair. You'll get there. We'll get you a job.
I have a few, like, it's probably like 160 restaurants.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a really long list.
Will you send it to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on Google Maps. It's like,
Oh,
if I pull up,
you told me about
yeah,
this, I
if you
think.
pull up Google Maps, I just have pins
Yeah,
everywhere.
that's sweet. But the food scene is decent. It's getting better, I think. There is a lot of culture in Indy too, but it's not as immersed as it is in St. Louis. So I think my comparison there can be a little like off sometimes because Indy is very like, let's call it like a T-zone, okay? So the richer neighborhoods are going to be up in the north side and down the middle of the city.
Sure.
And then to the east and the west are going to be like, I guess like your marginalized groups whoa.
There is a sun.
The sun.
I will say Indianapolis is one of the most visibly red line cities I've ever been to. Like, it's very in your face.
It absolutely is. But I mean, like on the east and west side, like there is so much culture in those areas, but like people who live in these areas are just not immersed in it. And most of the time, they're going to choose not to immerse themselves in it because they think the areas are scary or dangerous, whereas it's really not. Like, you're just not, like...
I had a conversation about this exact topic with the public outreach person for
Really?
Keep Indianapolis Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, yeah, I just, like, don't... She's like, I just go talk to people. And, like, my coworkers be like, you went there?
I mean, like... I feel like people just like stick so much in their bubble of what they know and are not willing to learn or branch out. And I think that can cause a lot of it just causes a bad outlook on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I wish more people were willing to just talk to people. I think kind of going into the business side of things, like COhatch is in those T-zone areas, like, and that's just a fact. But it's hard because it's like these people who are living in these other communities don't have the types of jobs where they would like be able to work at a COhatch. So it's like, how do we go about like meshing those communities in the right way?
That was a very insightful comment that I don't think is like, I've never thought about Indianapolis as having like a T sort of shape for
I literally just thought
wealth.
of that.
Really? But you're kind of right.
I mean, it is. It's like the north side and it's down the middle. I mean, there's like splotches of places here and there, but like that's, I mean, Meridian kind of.
You're very correct. And then additionally, the idea that, a co-working space or a community space like would only go where there is already wealth is a difficult topic. I'm kind of wondering, like, what made you think of that? Like, why do you think those parts of town are like missing that opportunity?
I think in some ways, yes. Like, for example, there is a co-working space in Lawrence, and Lawrence is kind of in that part of town that isn't super, I don't want to say uppity, but like just, it's not Meridian Kessler, it's not Carmel. And they actually just opened up a co-working space there that has pretty like low rates. And it's giving those people those opportunities to go into those spaces and build that community. So that kind of like sparked my mind there. But also, you have to think about the fact that in these areas, people are not most likely not working the remote jobs.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a different sense of community.
I think that institutions like the Kepler Institute, which is a sort of Black empowerment institute, it's located, I don't remember the road, but it's in sort of a red line community. They are a community center that is there not only to sort of build that sort of sense of place, but also, you know, they have a sort of investment arm to sort of help people build a business or things like that.
That's great.
So I think it comes down to sort of like COhatch at the end of the day is a business and they're trying to make money.
Yeah.
Whereas the Kepler Institute is a nonprofit and is there to help build up a place. Whereas COhatch might not necessarily want to do the work to help build up a place, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's already in a sort of established zone.
Yes, to some degree. I want to say COhatch does like a good job, not just marketing to people in this area. We try to reach out to startup businesses and nonprofits to encourage them to apply for a scholarship with us. I don't know if I told you about the scholarship program.
No.
Yeah. So it's nice because COhatch almost functions like we are a for-profit business. Like we wouldn't function if we weren't a for-profit business. But there is a nonprofit side to things, which I really love about the business. So people can apply for a scholarship through us. If it's a nonprofit or a startup, they have to just submit like a video about, you know, what they're doing, what their goals are, why they would need to use the space, like how we can help them. Nonprofits pay $10 per month per person that want to use the space. And startups pay, for the first year, it's $20 per month per person to use the space. And this is for like an unlimited like amount of time. Like they can use it as much as they want. So they're like normal members, but they're just not paying as much. Our scholarships used to be free, but we had to put a price on them just to give like people like, I don't know, put a little skin in the game. Like we can't like hand out like free memberships to everyone.
That's true.
And we've been doing it, at least Broad Ripple's been open for almost 4 years now. 4th birthday coming up on May 20th. Party. And honestly, like, sorry to all my members that I love, but I like love our scholars. Like all of our scholars, like they want to help make a difference in COhatch. Like I had a scholar come up to me a couple weeks ago and she was like, hey, like you guys have blessed me in so many ways in helping me with my business, in giving me a space to work, in giving me a space to have her daughter's graduation party. Like, how can I give back to you? And for someone to say that, like, it makes you feel so good. You're like, oh, like, that's really sweet. You feel that way. Yeah, it just makes you feel good. Like, knowing that you've made a difference in someone's, like, personal life and professional life and them wanting to give back to you, even though they are, like, they have a startup business or, like, you know, they're in the very beginnings of their career in the field that they're in, like, they still want to show their appreciation for you. And I think that's really awesome that we can give to people who really need it. So
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
So circling back to Indianapolis,
yes.
what about the city do you really like, other than the food?
We kind of got off on a
No, that's
tangent.
okay.
I do.
I think it was a really good tangent. Not
Yes.
I don't want to deny.
No, it was a good tangent. Yeah, so I do like to cycle. So I love the Monon. The Monon's great. Some of it needs a little repaving.
What is the Monon?
The Monon
I've
Trail.
never mentioned it.
Oh, you haven't?
I don't think so.
So the Monon Trail is, how long is it? How long is the Monon?
I do not know.
It goes all the way from the Garage, Mass Ave area in Indianapolis, all the way up to Sheridan. It's just a tow path.
It's effectively and this is common in a lot of cities, is it used to have a railroad on it or a train line.
Yeah, that would
and they
make sense.
That's why it's so flat.
Yes.
So they converted it to a bike path.
Yeah.
Now, I would prefer if we had both.
That would be cool. If we had a train running through the city, oh my gosh, I would be going everywhere. I love trains. I did so much train transportation when I was living in Germany, and like, I miss it. It's so great. I will say that's one thing I don't like about Indy. The lack of public transportation in terms of getting in and out of the city really stinks. Like when I lived in St. Louis, sorry I keep bringing up St. Louis, I clearly love it. I would move back in a heartbeat.
That's so funny. I don't think a lot of people would say that.
I don't know what it is.
But I
about
also
that
think a
place.
lot of people haven't lived in St. Louis.
That
so
is true. I know people visit and they're like, I don't really really know about that place. I'm like, it's great.
They have a great children's museum.
Yeah, the City Museum. That place is awesome.
So what in St. Louis, what do they have for transportation?
Oh, like I wanted to go up to Chicago one day. I literally just got on the train and took it to Chicago. No big deal. Like
How long did that take?
5 hours.
That's a long train
It
trip.
was a long train trip. But it's like you can't do that in Indianapolis.
You
Like
used to be able to.
you used to be able to, and then for whatever reason, NDOT said no more. Do you know why?
Well, I do. This is something I'm really deeply invested in is
Yeah.
public transit. Marion County, specifically in Indianapolis, it takes up such a large landmass that the amount of money to sustain or build an effective transportation system across the entire landmass is almost not feasible. If you look at the landmass of other large cities, well, Chicago and New York City and San Francisco
It's a little different.
all sort of come to mind. They do not take up nearly the same amount of land. It's a much smaller landmass.
Compact.
And then the parts of those places that are lesser served are further out.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I think we have a sort of, because Indianapolis is so sprawly, are you familiar with that term? So people are everywhere. There's
Yeah.
no area of density.
That's true.
It makes it difficult for us to serve people with public transit. So it just requires first of all, you have to overhaul the living infrastructure.
Yeah.
Then you could build in moving infrastructure.
That's true, yeah. I didn't think about how big Indy is, because Indy's very spread out. It is.
It's like one of the largest metropolitan areas
Really?
in the country, definitely.
Wow.
And then you have to take into account the donut counties, which are all the counties around Marion County,
Yeah.
where a large amount of the employment, is that the word? The workforce comes from. Like all those people
Yeah.
are coming in, which is a lot of the reason that the roads struggle. There's so many, it's such a complicated and nuanced sort of discussion. And obviously, like, our city leadership is weak. The state leadership doesn't like us for multiple reasons. And I think that all those sort of factors combined make for a unfortunate situation in regard
Yeah.
to the movement of people around the city.
That's very insightful.
Yeah, I think about it a lot.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Because I feel like I get pretty riled up about it sometimes. I'm like, I wish there were a train to like Cincinnati or Chicago or St. Louis, and it's like there's not.
Well, that would be
But
federal.
that's a little
That's
different.
federal money.
Yeah, so I don't know why we're not doing that. But I will say the bus system here is pretty good. I feel like I see a lot of people relying on the bus to get downtown to up here in Broad Ripple, and I'm very glad that we have that.
I ride the bus.
You do ride the bus. I've actually never ridden the bus.
You should.
I should ride the bus
Take
sometime.
your boyfriend and ride the bus.
Ride the bus. More things that I like about Indianapolis. So I love Fountain Square. I think Fountain Square is an awesome neighborhood. I think Fountain Square has a lot of stuff to offer. I think it brings like a different side to Indy that a lot of people like don't think it has. I think a lot of people don't go down to Fountain Square.
What is the thing they don't think Indy has that it does in Fountain Square?
I think Fountain Square just like encapsulates like the need of inclusivity in the city. I don't think there's any other area in Indianapolis, especially on the north side, that really showcases that. And I think Fountain Square just does like a good job of repping. We're community oriented. We're here to support you and like provide you with the resources and the places to eat, things to do. Like White Rabbit Cabaret is super awesome. And like it just offers like a different side of Indianapolis, like more alternative side of things.
It's very alternative.
It is. It's super
White
alternative.
Rabbit Cabaret, I would call very alternative.
I love White Rabbit. It's awesome. Like Kuma's Corner, like like heavy metal burger place. Like you'd never see that like up here.
Probably not.
No, you wouldn't. And it's like, it is just such a good area. And I feel like I make my way down there a lot.
When you were growing up, Fountain Square was one of those, was an area of town that was lesser served and has since been revitalized, as
Yeah.
they say. And I've been down there. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is. I'm really interested, like, to know about how that was built up and how that was changed over time. Because I actually just found
Maybe I'll
out.
work on that.
Yeah, can you do some research?
I have a couple historians on my list to talk to. I would love to find, it's not a history podcast, but I think that plays in.
It does. It does. It plays into like why Indianapolis is Indianapolis and why these areas like deal with certain issues and why they are the way they are. So I think it would be fair to have some historians on here. I was just talking to Ethan about this. So I asked him, I was like, why? We were driving down to Fountain Square for a concert, and I was like, why is Fountain Square so hard to get to? Like, why do you have to get off 65 and then go around this loop? And he said, he was like, well, like, it used to not be like what it is. Like, it honestly used to be a pretty poor area. And I didn't know that. So when he brought that up, I was like, that's actually a really good point. And it was just really interesting, kind of eye-opening. I was like, oh, like,
There's this,
that makes sense.
I hate to bring him up on this podcast, but like Elon Musk will tweet like, how these people in government think that highways can be racist. It's like, well, highways were built through historically black neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that's, if you imagine in that way, like Fountain Square was that. And that might be why it's so difficult to get to. It takes, from here where we are, it takes like 20 to 25 minutes to get to.
It takes a long time to
And
get
it's
to.
not that far.
No, and it really is not. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, like how that works. It's just kind of wild. But yeah, I love Fountain Square. It's the best.
So we kind of already answered this, but is there, outside of public transit, is there something you think Indianapolis could like really improve on as a city?
I think Broad Ripple specifically has kind of struggled in the past like 4 or 5 years with safety concerns, specifically like the year after I got out of college. So Broad Ripple used to be the spot. Like,
Yep.
everyone went on
Kind of
Broad
still
Ripple.
feels like the spot to me.
Okay, yes, because it's coming. It's on the mend. When I was in college, like Broad Ripple is where we went out to the bars every weekend. I went to karaoke and salsa dancing at Red Room every Wednesday night. Like that was the place to go. And after I graduated, I had heard from some girls like in my sorority the year below me. They were like, yeah, like we don't go out in Broad Ripple anymore. And I was like, what? Like,
Where do they go?
they go downtown.
That's so far.
I know. It's not too far, but Broad Ripple's so close, and I'm just kind of like, well, why? And there were just a lot of safety concerns for a while. Like, there were a couple shootings in Broad Ripple, like, a while back. But I feel like things have, like, continuously gotten better. Based on feeling and talking with Jordan from BRBA, like, it does seem better overall. And I do think Broad Ripple is trying really hard. Like, they're doing the Third Thursday thing. Like, every third Thursday, like, businesses are offering, like, discounts or, like, open houses or live music. I will say I wish it were more of, like, a street party or street fest, kind of like farmer's market style.
I said this to Anna the other day. So we went to the Broad Ripple Farmers Market.
Yes.
Which is in the Lowe's parking lot.
Yeah.
I was like, why is this not just on Broad Ripple Avenue?
I know.
Just shut down the road for like 6 hours.
I know. You would think, because I remember I was always like, where is the Broad Ripple Farmers Market? And I remember when I looked it up, I was like, why is it in the Lowe's parking lot? Like,
instead of the middle of where everyone lives.
I know. Well, McKenna, my boss, she was like, well, why don't we host the farmers market? And I was like, it is way too established and so much bigger. Like,
It's pretty big.
their parking lot is huge. Like, isn't there someone out there directing traffic?
No.
Okay. Well, I think when I was there was someone like directing people on where to park. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, there's at least 150 cars in this parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big farmer's market, but I don't know. I do agree. I wish it were in Broad Ripple. And I think it would just like bring more sense of community. It's like, I don't know. I think it would be better.
If I had the resources, and we'll get into this, if I had the resources, I would do a study about if you could theoretically close Broad Ripple Road from College to whatever that road on the other side is near the Qdoba Chipotle. I think you could
Winthrop.
do it just permanently.
That would be sick. But I will say they just renovated that like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, renovate it again.
Renovated, full sidewalks, patios. Like, that's the thing. Cities are not built for that in the United States. Like, and that sucks. Because, like, when I lived in Germany, it was so much better. It was like, there was this road, and it was literally just a walking path. And, like, there's businesses everywhere. Cars could drive on it if they needed to, like, deliver something to the front of the building. But, like, it was meant for walking. And it was meant for having, like, chairs and patios to sit on. It's not...
I challenge you, I was thinking about this the other day, just pay attention next time you go on a walk or a bike ride, how much, and this is for anyone listening to, how much infrastructure is dedicated to cars, the road. Indianapolis has an outsized number of 4-lane roads, like
Yeah.
really wide roads. and then how little infrastructure is given to you as a pedestrian. Like small sidewalks, very short amount of time to cross the road. Just something to like really be. There's I forget who said this, but the best way to learn about a city is just to like walk around.
Yeah.
You see so many things you would not otherwise see, and when you're in a car, you just like zoom by. You don't see it. And it's something I do a lot. I walk a lot. But yeah. But good feedback.
Yeah.
I think we can do more for the people.
I do think we can do more. I don't want to dog on Indy because I do love it here and like it is home. Like my neighborhood is awesome. Like Meridian Kessler is great. What is that face for?
Well, I have something to say.
Oh, okay. But like I can walk to get breakfast, which I really appreciate. I can walk to get a coffee. I can walk to get there's a couple things like in my neighborhood that are walkable to me. And if I want to walk a little further, I want to bike. Like I can get to college and I can go to my favorite restaurant. Like I can bike to Yats. Like I can bike to Fat Dan's. And I love that. And that's great. And there's a ton of nice houses and like there are like decent sidewalks, which I appreciate. Yeah. And I love my neighborhood. So I'm grateful. Love my apartment. It's nice and cozy and it's quiet. So like there are things I do love about Indy. This is one thing that I really, really wanted to talk about that I was thinking of. I am so grateful that I came back to Indy because of my time at Butler. Like, I have had so many chances, specifically this year, to be involved in Butler in some way and share with students about my job as community manager here. And, like, that has felt really impactful for me. And I never thought, like, oh, I want to go back to Indy and, like, go back to my alma mater. And, like, I never had that thought, but now that I'm back in it and I have had the chance to go back, it has felt really good. And I think that is something that I never expected to mean a lot to me, but it really has.
On the topic of, you said you don't want to dog on Indy. A previous podcast guest, he said, like, we shouldn't be nice to the city. It's great.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect.
Yeah.
So you have to speak on its flaws to be able to improve. When we're not sitting here. It's an inanimate object.
Yeah.
The city, we can say what we want about the mayor or whatever. The city has flaws, and we are able to criticize those and want more of it. So I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree on that. And it's hard because it's, we can speak like, oh, Indy's blah, blah, blah. But it's like the city can't help itself. Like the people of the city have to help the city. Like that is just like bottom line, what needs to be done.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
I hope. So I have sort of 3 more questions.
Okay.
Because you're running out of time. You got to go to bar class.
I'm going to bar class. I'm going to 2 bar classes. Talk about
2
bad
today?
ass. Yeah.
You're going to be hurting.
I'm going to be hurting so bad, but I'm excited.
Okay, so you've kind of already touched on these, but I want to be more formal about it.
Yeah.
Like, we're in Broad Ripple.
Yeah.
Or Meridian Kessler. We're sort of in the
We're in
transition
between.
zone.
Warfleet, kind of.
But
in the area you
ignoring
live in.
that idea. So in this neighborhood of the sort of the tri-state area of Meridian Kessler.
The tri-state area.
The Meridian Kessler, Warfleet, and Broad Ripple. Where, let's say I just showed up yesterday in October. Where would you take me to like be like, this is where I'm hanging. These are the coolest places.
54th and College.
What is that?
That is my favorite intersection in Indianapolis. I've already mentioned 2 of the 8 places in that area.
There's Yats.
There's Yats.
Okay.
There's Fat Dan's. There's 20 Tap. 3 really good restaurants. The Bulldog is new. It used to be a place called Mo and Johnny's where we went in college. That was cool. I've not been in there quite yet.
At the Bulldog?
Yeah. Have you been there?
I've driven by it.
Okay. I've driven by it many times.
Is that the one is that the intersection where the Indian restaurant is too? Or is that a different one?
No, that's 52nd.
Okay.
And yeah, 52nd and College. So I love that intersection so much. And there's
Said that with such conviction.
I talk about this intersection like I live there. I don't even live in this intersection. There's Fresh Market, which it's a fine grocery store. They play kind of weird, like medieval type music, which I don't really jive with, but they can do whatever they want.
Medieval.
They do have good food. And my favorite place in Indianapolis, in that intersection, Jazz Kitchen. The Jazz Kitchen
I need to go there.
is awesome.
So this is a side story.
Yeah, please.
My cousin, who lives in Columbus, his really good friend lives here, and I have her phone number, and I've been texting her because I was like, I really want to be friends with you
Yeah.
because I just moved here. We have been texting back and forth for months. Have
You've
not
not met her
found.
yet?
She's 2 kids. I've not met her yet.
Okay.
But her husband is a jazz musician and recently played there.
Shut up.
And I was out of town before.
Oh,
But
no.
I really want to go to the jazz kitchen. His name is Chaz. I want to go watch
Chaz
Yes.
play jazz?
Chaz who plays
Get
jazz.
out of here. You have to go. Like Monday nights are open mic night and like locals will come in and play, which is awesome. I've been to the Jazz Kitchen 3 times. The first time I went by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I've wanted to go here for so long. Like, I've got to make this happen. So I go, and they end up sitting me next to the table of musicians, and they're right behind me. And because of who I am, and I love to talk to people, I'm chatting up with them. And they're like, oh, like, Jenna, do you play any instruments? And I'm like, no, like, I don't play any instruments. And they're like, well, do you sing? And I'm like, well, like, I love, like, karaoke, but, like, I don't, like, professionally sing. And they were like, oh, that's too bad because you're going to get up there and sing a song.
No way.
Oh, yeah. So I went up there and sang Love, L-O-V-E by Nat King Cole. And it was so ridiculous.
In front of like
a
people?
big crowd, yes. And it was fun. It was great. So it's like,
that's my worst nightmare.
yeah, I will say I was like slightly
I'm
nervous.
so afraid of
I
that.
don't get too nervous, but it was just kind of like, well, I got to do it. So
I mean, when you have it's deep peer pressure at that point.
yeah, and they were like really cool musicians, and I was like, I got to get up there and do this. So it was fun. It was good. I would do it again. They had like Latin night on Thursdays, so free like Latin dance lessons, which is super cool. So yeah, that intersection
Do they have good food?
rocks. The food is awesome. So the food is like New Orleans style, like Cajun
Right next
and
to
Creole,
Yats.
right next to Yats, which is hilarious.
It's not Yats food.
It's not Yats food. It's different. I will say the people of the Jazz Kitchen and the people of Yats, I'm pretty sure they're like friends.
I'm sure.
Which of course, Old Man Yats, love that guy, Joe.
I hope he's doing all right.
I think he is. I saw him a couple weeks ago. He seemed pretty good. But those places are just like, those places are what mean the most to me in this area. Just because I've spent so much time in those places, like at Yats and at Fat Dan's, those are like my favorite places ever. I really like could talk about them for days. Yeah, they mean a lot to me, and they mean a lot to like my experience in Indy. I remember when I moved away from Indy, I remember saying like, man, like I'm really gonna miss Yats. Like I'm gonna miss it so bad. And I remember when I came back, I was like, yes! I was like, I can't wait to go back to Yats. So it's,
That's
you know,
so funny.
it's those staple places that I would take anyone who visits to. Like I would take them there. I'd take them to Broad Ripple. I think the river just north of Broad Ripple is really nice. Like the Monon right there, like Murat Park. What's the other park? Holiday Park. They're both awesome. I think they're great. I think Butler is awesome. I think the university is really pretty. So, yeah, kind of all in the tri-state area.
So I'm going to call it that now.
My tri-state area. No, literally, it's what it is.
Okay. The next question I have actually comes from the previous podcast guest.
Oh, that's exciting. That's
yes.
cool.
His name is Khalid. Khalid's an artist. Well, kind of. Like, he's an artist. That's foolish for me to say otherwise. He's a graphic designer, so
Oh, he's an artist.
And he runs like marketing at the Can Theater.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah,
Shout out, Can.
Great guy. But he asked if you had unlimited resources and money was not an option, what would you create? If you could be anything. I told him that I would create a beautiful, livable space.
Yes, we all need
But
that.
he was, I think, maybe he had a art in mind. But to me, spaces
Oh.
are art.
That's interesting. Yeah, spaces are art. I would agree. This might sound really strange, but I feel like I would create like an elementary school for like adults to go back and like relive their school experience.
Wait, that's kind of funny, actually.
I know.
I like that.
It's kind of random, but like that's what came to mind. I like feel I'm such a nostalgic person, and I feel like being able to go back and experience those things, even if it were just for a day. Like I know it wouldn't be the same feeling, but that's kind of a silly answer, but like that's just what came to mind.
There's like really successful event planning businesses that do adult summer camp.
Yeah.
So I think you could do adult elementary school.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people really crave like that feeling. Now that I'm like an adult, I want to be youthful for as long as I can. But I think now that I'm an adult, I'm like, man, like I really understand what people are talking about when they say that they miss being a kid, or like when you were younger, oh, I can't wait to get older. No, like you don't, because there is just something so good about, I don't want to say being naive, but it's true. Just not knowing things.
Yeah.
And just having that innocence. I
agree
miss
with
that
you.
feeling.
However, I have a contradictory feeling. I love being an adult.
I will
Despite the
say-
struggle of being an adult,
I will say there's amazing things about being an adult.
I love being able to go to Target and buying a box of candy.
Yeah.
You can't do that as a child.
I know.
Your mom
can't.
would slap your hand and be like,
Be like,
"Stop."
no, we can't do that. I would agree. I will say there are fun things about being an adult, but if I could create a space for people to just go hang out and enjoy, like,
Oh, a third
luxuries
space.
of being a kid. Yeah, that would be my third
There's-
space.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. And then the last question. What's the question you would like to ask the next guest?
I knew that was going to be the question. Oh my gosh, I got to think about
It can be
this.
anything you want.
If you could open up any third space, what third space would you open up, and what would it be tailored to or tailored around?
All right. Well, Jenna's got to go to bar class, so
I gotta go to
thank
bar
you for
class.
joining me on Third Space Indy.
This
Jenna.
was great. Yay!
You did great. I don't know why you were so nervous.
Oh gosh, thank you. All
right.
Thank you.
High five.
choose.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Third Space Indy, and thank you so much to Jenna Hadley for joining me in our conversation. You can follow Third Space Indy at Third Space Indy on Instagram. You can also find show notes and a short blog post at thirdspaceindy.com. And if you enter your email at thirdspaceindy.com, I'll send you show notes and a blog post for each episode right as it releases. Thank you, as always, to the local artist Jennison for permission to use her song Scared Rabbit as the music for the show. If you have any thoughts, feelings, suggestions, or feedback on this episode or Third Space Indy in general, you can email me at thirdspaceindy@gmail.com. I promise I'll respond, and I'll be very thankful for your message. I really look forward to sharing the next episode of Third Space Indy with you. Looking forward to it. Have a great day.